Lovely. Look at that. Oh, even interesting framing. What a beautiful divide I've created here in this corner of my room. Um, I wanted to create some type of video diary since about the week before I became unemployed, which is now a month ago. And I wanted to do that because it'd be like a fun exercise to I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed like fun at the time. The idea of like, oh, what's a funny video title? Day one unemployed, and then I just continue to do unemployment days. But it turns out when you stop having a job, you kind of just fall apart because there's no real schedule or focus in place. And it all comes down to you to put things together and be organized, which I'm struggling with at the moment. So I thought I've been thinking since then what would be an interesting day to start with. Where would I begin doing this thing? And this Monday, yesterday, I was like, oh, finally, after 6 years almost of living in the same house and nearly 3 years owning the paint can, I'm going to paint this wall in my room. I'm actually going to paint it blue. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. It's breath of fresh air. It's a new project. It changes the atmosphere is what it does. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, I'm just filming paint dry. Like I'm moving things around in my room, setting up a camera and going, well, now I'm going to paint a wall. And I'm like, who cares? Who is that for? I wouldn't watch that. So why would I put that out there for on the internet? Because at the end of the day, the purpose of filming a video, or at least, what I have in my head is that it's going to be seen. You're making something that you want to be seen. And I used to make stuff that I wanted to be seen to greater or lesser extent, So I did that as a teenager and as a young adult. This microphone I got during COVID. I had a podcast. Me and my friend had about 50 odd episodes of a podcast during COVID. And the first 10, I want to say, we only had one microphone. It was in this echoey ass room. It was awful. And now I'm sitting here with three of them, The last good thing these microphones did, I was at a gallery. My girlfriend's volunteering at a gallery here in Galway. And it's super cool and super interesting. One of the pieces they were doing, and they needed someone to record audio. And I have, I just have these. What really inspired me to actually take out this microphone and record with this audio as opposed to just the phone audio is I seen this one Instagram reel where someone just broke down everything I feel that's been procrastinating. That's one thing they don't tell you about the algorithms on all of these apps is that if you actively tell it that you fucking hate being there, it'll just start feeding you content about getting out of there. But because it's so second nature at that point, you're just spending an hour being inspired to stop being on Instagram again and again and again and again and again. But you're still spending the hour there. Every element of the world can become part of the machine. Even people who are like, it's the thing with anti-art and anti-establishment stuff is that if it gets recognition and it gets seen by the establishment, it gets absorbed by it and then just becomes a part of it. And what I'm saying is that is also what's happening with reels, which are also art. I hate the fact that it's called content. I hate the fact that food is called product. I think bad things are bad, actually. That's my hot take on my 5 minutes. That's how long it's taken me to get on a soapbox. It's taken 5 minutes of recording time for me to go from I painted my wall blue to, the whole universe is going to collapse in on itself. The heat death of the galaxy is guaranteed. And it is. But not for a long time, so we probably shouldn't worry about it. I've lived here for 6 years, and I've wanted to paint the wall for about 3. I wanted to change the color because it's cream and boring. And so blue is my favorite color. I'll paint it blue. And one year I got paint. I got blue paint for a real good price in Woodies. And then I held on to that paint for 3 years before ever putting it near the fucking wall. And the thing that really pushed me to put the paint on the wall, to paint as you would, is the fact that I have to move out in 6 months and I don't want to bring the paint with me. So I'm just going to paint this wall and then I won't have any paint to bring with me. So when I arrive at the next place and inevitably it's cream colored, I'll be like, I should have brought that 5-liter tin of paint. That's what I should have done. I should have saved it for this. I still have half a tin now. I've painted the wall. I don't want to paint anymore, and I still have half the tin of paint. I'm not bringing it with me, though. You know, like, it's not coming with me when I leave this house. I own so much crap that I have to cut down on because I don't need to own this much stuff. So why would I bring 5 liters of garden paint? That's a detail I forgot. At no point in Woody's during the purchasing process, the 3 years it's been in my room, have I ever looked closely enough to notice that it says garden paint. Cool Breeze garden paint, which was €55, but I got it for a sweet deal of 10 because someone had kicked the can or had fallen on the ground and had a big dent in it. I don't understand how the can being dented affects the price of the paint, but as someone buying the paint, I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just going to get €10 worth of paint or €55 worth of paint for €10 and then wait 3 years to put it on the wall. I don't even know if I like it that much. Like, it cools down the room, but good job on me. I live in Ireland. It's not like you need to cool down the room all that much. The sky does it for you. The permanent diffusion that is the cloud coverage in Galway, already does that for you. You don't need to add more cool color. If I was really clever, I would have made it like golden hour. I would make my room look like golden hour all day long. I'd do that. And then that would probably, neutralize you to golden hour. You'd be like, it looks better in my room. Actually, golden hour looks better when you see it in my room that's painted to look like golden hour. I'm creating my own simulation in here. Actually, you know what? I know the real world's out there, but I've kind of propped up my own shadows that I'm watching. I have become both the master of the shadows and the watcher of the shadows simultaneously. It's a very clever thing, That's Plato's Cavern, for anyone who didn't do secondary school philosophy. It's very wise. It's very clever. I remember reading that there was like this guy in the 90s. I can't remember his name. There's this guy in the 90s who did Plato's Cavern, but instead of with a cavern, he updated it to shopping centers. He was like, the shopping mall. I think he was American. The American mind can only comprehend philosophy through, a big shop. What if a big shop was lying to you? Imagine that. Imagine if you walked into a big shop and they told you lies to get your money. That'd be crazy. That is my favorite thing about philosophy overall, is you can just, we're at the point now where there's so many people have taught stuff over the years that like initial thoughts aren't as interesting, because it's like, well, some cunt named Kant, actually. Some cunt named Kant has already written it down. So you're just doing a Kantian theory, The guy who wrote it down first claims ownership, I guess, which is tragic for all the millions of people who just had thoughts in their regular life and their friends told them to shut the fuck up. Who do you think you are, Kant? I don't know what my point was. This guy did what if Plato's Cavern was shopping center, and it's the same principle. And I think he got a bunch of awards for it because it was such a clever update. And I wonder if that is necessary. It's in the same line as, I suppose, is it as good or as bad as She's All That? In the sense that it takes a piece of classic literature, and updates it for the modern day. Which would you prefer? A Shakespeare adaptation with Channing Tatum and Hilary Swank, Amanda Bynes. It's Amanda Bynes. I can't believe I forgot. Would you like that, or would you like Plato's Cavern, but it's a shopping center, actually? I'm definitely selling it short. I'm sure, a lot of there's a lot of time and effort put into it. But all I remember is reading that at the end of whatever chapter we were at in philosophy. I mean, like, oh, got any ideas of your own? You know? But it's a classic. That's why it works. It's so easy to just say you're living in a cavern, and that's what my walls are. I think that's where I started with this. My walls are a cavern. I am the master of the shadows and the watcher of the shadows. One, that's my modern Plato's cavern is actually, we all know that we're watching shadows, but we're watching each other's shadow because of social media. We're watching each other's shadows. That's what's happening. And we're not looking at the true version of ourselves, which exists in the real world, in real time, because you can't measure someone based off filmed and edited material that they put out themselves. It's in their best interest to make themselves look good, so you can't really trust anything like that. And again, I'm just a guy sitting in the corner of my room, inhaling a bunch of paint fumes. Probably not ideal. Realistically, not a good choice, but I'm glad I painted this wall